Good morning, all of you, and thanks for joining in. Today, we're going to talk about AWS Resilience Hub, and I'm going to walk you through with this particular webinar, and that's going to be really, really interesting. Let me give you a bit of an introduction about myself before we start off and set up the agenda for the entire workshop there. My name is Syed, and I've been into the industry for about 17 plus years. Majority of my experience lies into working for ERP applications like PeopleSoft and Oracle. I've been working on the cloud space for about more than 7 years. I am an authorized Amazon instructor, AAI, and I'm also an MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer. Few of the certifications which you could see I have achieved over a period of time. I am currently working with Zebia and been working as a principal consultant here. And what I do is, as part of many job roles and responsibilities, I design new solutions which are going to be cloud native. Alright guys, that's basically a bit of brief about myself, and as I said, a bit of an architecture to review. When we talk about the resiliency hub here, we'll look into some of the key components of what an AWS resilience hub is, and what it's gonna give you, in terms of the advantages and a greater benefits in terms of a managed service available to you. We're going to look into multiple examples and use cases, and we also do one of the implementation there for maybe a very high mission critical application there. Alright, just to review an architecture here, let's say for example we're going to have a VPC and we're going to have, let's say, multi AZ configuration in terms of we're going to have 3-tier architecture. Maybe we're going to have a public subnet, an app subnet, and we have a DB subnet. Of course, the database and the application subnet is going to be a backend subnet, which is protected and which is not open. Public subnet is where we may have our front-end servers, and one of the key components to look into, apart from the VPC, the internet gateway, the routing table, and the routes within the table, and these different subnets. One of the important point to look into is and focus on the NAT gateway. Alright, so we're going to look into what we see in the architecture here is on availability zone 1, we have in the public subnet one of the NAT gateway configured. What we're going to do is we're going to take the advantage of configuring the resilience hub there, and we'll figure out what our architecture looks like in terms of having the resiliency to what level for, let's say, a critical business critical application altogether. With that, we're gonna review the entire architecture. We're gonna run the resiliency hub report, and then we're gonna figure out what is some of the missing components here, how we're gonna rectify, modify, or bring our architecture which is gonna be highly resilient. Alright, let's go ahead and continue on on exploring a little bit more on the same. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is, before I get into talking about the resiliency hub, and I'm going to take you to the the landing page there, and we're going to look into some of the configuration part of it. It's important to understand an AWS Resilience Hub is a central place for you to define, validate, and track the resiliency of your AWS applications, which are hosted on AWS, of course. It will help you to protect your mission critical applications from disruptions, reducing the recovery cost to optimize business continuity. It will also help you to keep an audit trail of planned and unplanned outages, and it also help you to meet the compliance and regulatory requirements. You can analyze your infrastructure and get recommendations to improve the resiliency of your application. In addition to architectural guidance for improving your application's resiliency, the recommendations provide code for implementing the test, alarms, and standard operating procedures, also called as SOPs. All right, and much more. All right. So once again, guys, thanks and welcome to the workshop here for AWS Resilience-Hub. All right. What we're going to look into a bit of important components to look into, where, for example, if you look into a key definition of resiliency, it is the ability to maintain availability and to recover from software and operational disruptions in a designated time frame. All right. So that's where the RPO RTO comes into picture: recovery point objective and recovery time objective. That's what we're gonna look into, and we will try to explore and determine what are some of the considerations which you have to keep in mind while you need to look into what is the recovery point objective and what is the recovery time objective for your particular application is. All right, so let's get started. What I'm going to do is at the beginning is, very interestingly, what we have is we're going to have a cloud formation template, which is basically going to provide us with some networking architecture, and it's going to be a combination of it's going to be combination of multiple services, which is going to define through a YAML file, which is going to set up and configure our networking stack there. All right, so that's what we're going to be going ahead and doing as part of setting up this this entire template altogether. So very quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up I'm going to bring up one quick moment.